because of hereditary factors. That's what they say. And there are a lot of different ailments. Whenever the doctor, calls me up for a checkup now, they say, oh, yeah, and you're of African background, so, the chances are you're more likely to get this than any other thing. Honestly, it's true. And that goes for, all sorts of things, cancers and prostate cancer. Black male, you're first in the queue, stand back, let the black male come through. Prostate cancer, more likely to get it, and it'll be more aggressive with you and all. That's what it's like. And apart from that, we're the same. Although some of you will know what I mean because, you're of Caribbean or African heritage or South Asian heritage. Now, before I go in to tell you more about that particular subject, let me explain a word to you that I don't have to explain to Trinidadians. Somebody from Trinidad and Tobago will go, you don't have to tell me what liming is, because that's part of the landscape. It's called liming. It's a very difficult thing to explain, but I'll put it down to this. It's just like hanging around with a drink in your hand. That is liming, yeah? Not doing anything in particular, you're just liming, yeah? Okay, I'm glad you've got that now, because Of God's Men is an award-winning film that I'm going to talk about later on in the programme. And I want you to know what liming is ahead of that, so that when we speak about that particular film, you already not need an explanation for what the kind of film's landscape is. But you need this to understand what we're talking about now, which is essentially about how we don't talk about health issues, necessarily when it comes to health issues that affect your heritage, if you like. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it, isn't it? Health issues that affect your heritage. It's not an easy one, but there is a new film fronted by the acclaimed author and Galdem founder, Liv Lissell. It's calling on the nation to speak more openly about heritage and family health in general, to tackle the important but often taboo topic of inherited medical conditions, not least within the black and minority communities, but not exclusively, as we know. Coinciding with Black History Month, the film Liming with Gran, I told you you'd need to know that word, Liming with Gran, from the University of Cambridge in Genomics, England, spotlights the special bond between grandmother Jean, who's 84, and her grandson Trey, who's 29. And the film showcases the pair liming together and playing a unique game of dominoes to encourage conversation surrounding health and well-being, which can often be a taboo subject for older generations. Take a quick listen. This is what Liming with Gran is about.
A huge part of my work has always been about connecting the dots. Through having conversations about the experiences that have shaped the lives of those who have come before us, we're able to gain insight into our own lives. Sometimes all you need is a chat and a fierce game of dominoes. Shall we have a look at this magic box? Oh, wow.
Ooh. Question for you. What makes you, you?
We're all different, we're all specially made, and we each have our own personality and our own upbringing, and something to pass on within you that your family could hold on to.
That's really important for me, especially coming from your heritage where sometimes people don't talk about things that often. If you had the opportunity to find out anything that might compromise you in your body, would you want that information now?
Well, I would, for the sake of my family.
Okay.
I may be old and past it, but, that's something I could leave for them.
Is it important to have family around you to be able to speak about these things?
Get my family together over a meal or over a domino game where we can smile and then get serious. We just give each other a hug and
be like, this is how we get over this and this is how we deal with this.
Cutthroat.
Yeah, you see, you got a taste of liming there. Well, I'm pleased to say that we have Trey with us, Trey Copeland-Williams, who features in the film, and also Vivian Parry, the head of public engagement, Genomics England. Trey, good evening. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Very well, thanks very much, Vivian. Is it Vivian, actually? Vivian?
Oh, that sounds ever so glamorous, but actually I'm just plain old Vivian.
That's fine. I'm just plain old Dotton. So you're in good company there with the plain and the old. Trey, you're much younger than we oldies. So who won that game of dominoes? We've got to know.
Oh, do I have to tell you? Maybe if you watch the end, you might find out. Bro.
Yep. You have to tell us, because we know the olders have got a lot to teach us youngers when it comes to dominoes.
My nan always wins.
Of course she does.
Always wins.
And
I always learn from losing.
If she doesn't win, you've swapped some of the dominoes around, because that happened when I was on holiday recently. I was playing dominoes with somebody from St Vincent, and he couldn't figure out why he didn't win. He couldn't, and then he eventually realised that there were two dominoes from two different packs, so there was a double something or other, and he realised. So he taught me a phrase. He said, learn to play before you learn to cheat. It was only years later, or months, weeks later, that I realised he was talking about the dominoes. Anyway, that's another story. Put that to one side. Vivian, why do we need to know about our health heritage?
I think it's always helpful to know, because sometimes we often, when our relatives have died, and we say, oh, I wish we'd known about something. And so we don't talk about things. But it's even more important now, because DNA-based medicine is now just ordinary medicine. So we can find and we can look at some of the DNA that causes ill health. But it really helps to know if there might be a problem. And it's especially important that we include everyone. And, people have very different genomes. That just means all your DNA. And we need to make sure that people who have been alienated and not included in the past are absolutely included in this.
I always thought, because I know several women who come from families with breast cancer, and they've been well aware of that from a very early age. I thought that, that was it. That's what we need to know. If there's a cancer, and particularly breast cancer, history in the family. But there's more. There's more than that. We need to know everything about our health heritage, or not?
Well, if there are many people in your family that have been affected by a particular condition, like prostate cancer or breast cancer, then it's good to know, because if you can check whether you carry the DNA that will predispose you to that or not. And then if you do have it, then you can have extra monitoring. You can take medicines which can help reduce your risk. So there are all sorts of things you can do. And I think that's the big point now, is that there are so many things now that we can do something to prevent. So why would you not want to know? And people think that it's very scary and, I'm going to know about stuff that, might happen to me years ahead that I can't do anything about. No, this is all about knowing about things that the NHS can do something about.
Trey, did you learn anything from your grandma about the health conditions that you need to consider?
I didn't learn anything that might specifically affect me, but I did learn just in general about how my nan's health and how she looks after her body and what she did for her body specifically, especially being a black woman in the community, understanding how she might have to do different things for her body. Like she might have to drink a certain amount of water, or she might have to drink other things that, might not be as potent or might not be as important to other races or other ethnicities. And so it's just having those conversations and being open and mindful and knowing that at some point this might affect me too. It might not be as severe, it might not be as potent, but it's good to know that they are ways and remedies to help you. And with that insight from my nan, that's always going to be a blessing.
Of course, she wouldn't have learned this directly from your nan, but she might have told you as a result that prostate cancer, whether you have a history of it in your family or not, you and I are in the most vulnerable groups with regards to prostate cancer, the groups where it's most aggressive and it's most common. So did you know about that before liming with your grandma?
I knew about the age range of prostate and that it's becoming a very important factor. Yeah, I did know about that. But there's loads of other things that she taught me about as well during our time in filming and stuff, and just in general in life.
Vivian, health can be racist then, can't it?
I think sometimes we don't take enough account of people's heritage and background, and we will say to people that they don't care about their health, but actually it may be because they're frightened, they're concerned, and the history of particularly of the use of DNA has been pretty bad in the past. So it's only human for people to be concerned, but actually we don't want them to be concerned. We want them to be part of the conversations about how DNA is used and how it might benefit them, and then for them to make up their own minds. But what we don't want is for people to be excluded, and actually for this new kind of DNA-based medicine to be a two-tier medicine in which some people benefit from it and others don't.
Not sure if you'll be able to answer this, Vivian, but why am I, as a black male or black woman indeed, more likely to have high blood pressure than our, white counterparts? Why? Do you know?
So you inherit some particular parts of your DNA that predispose you to have higher blood pressure, but on the other hand, there are lots of other things that you might have that are very good for your health. So we all have all sorts of DNA, and some of it is good and some of it is not so good. And it's a bit like a cocktail. Sometimes, you can have the good bits cancel out the bad bits, and you can have something that's great and something that's not so great. And the trouble is we don't know about our heritage, really. We know a couple of generations back, but not more than that. So, and what's particularly important is that people who have an African heritage have greater number of alterations and changes and content of their DNA than people from other heritages. So that also means that sometimes you're not so sure about what DNA results mean. So it's very important that people from all heritages are included in DNA data sets, so that when you give a diagnosis, you're absolutely sure what it means.
I'm going to test you on this, Trey, and thank you for that, Vivian, because I think you put forward really important points. On the one hand, you can feel special. Like my younger brother who's got sickle cell, he says to me, and sickle cell has debilitated him. Let's be quite clear about that. It's not a joke, but he will say to me, "Well, Dawson, on the one hand, yeah, but I can go to Africa and not contract malaria from being bitten by mosquitoes," apparently, is that what he tells me. So, Trey, more importantly, what do you know about how you need to navigate your life with regards to avoiding sickle cell for your next generation? Do you know that? Because that's the one thing that we're told from an early age. If you're of African heritage, make sure what? Make sure what?
I don't know the answer to that specifically. Make sure. I do know, it's so funny, I do know a few people in my life, but I know a few people in my life that have sickle cell, actually, and you know, they all deal with it. There is a specific thing to do, and off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure.
Well,
So
don't worry.
tell me
Don't worry. I shouldn't have asked you that question anyway, because maybe, you know, not everybody knows this, and I'm glad that you've said that, because actually what you need to know, somebody of African heritage, with regards to sickle cell, is make sure you get your blood checked, and make sure that if you've got a sickle cell trait, make sure your partner, if you're to, you know, get together and have children, make sure your partner doesn't have a trait, because the likelihood, if you've both got traits of sickle cell, traits or even sickle cell fully, the likelihood that you will have a child with sickle cell goes up a lot. So that's the very least you should check out for. This film, though, does it do the job for you, Vivian, that, you know, to try and explain to people that make sure that you talk about these things, don't let these things be taboo, don't die in ignorance, if you like?
I think the thing about this film, and by the way, Trey and Jean are magnificent in it, and I have to say, Trey, it didn't go well for you when you started by saying, I don't lose. They probably lost.
Oh, my goodness.
But
Trey.
the thing here is, it's about, if you talk about stuff, you feel more confident about discussing it. And this is about making something that people think is tough science actually more accessible, and people can trust it more, and they can be involved in it more if they want to, and they know about what it might do, and they can play a part in how it's regulated and how it's used in the NHS and elsewhere in the future. So it's just a baby step to talking about something. And actually what I think is so interesting is that people talk about genomics all the time, but they don't ever use those science words, just because it's the history of us. It's, you know, what we pass down from one generation to another. So we talk about it all the time. And Jean and Trey were talking about, you know, a very sciencey thing, but in ordinary, everyday language, and it was fabulous.
Yeah, I never lose. God, how can a youngster try and teach his grandma to suck eggs? Haven't you heard? You can't be doing that, Trey. You know,
you heard the saying. Teach old dog new tricks.
I wouldn't say that to your grandma.
No, I absolutely would not say that to her.
Of course.
Absolutely not.
But I know what you mean. I know you can't let them just walk all over you. But listen and learn, mate. Listen and learn. That's what we're here to do from our elders, as you know. Look, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to both of you. Trey, thank you very much. Vivian, thank you very much. And where can we see liming?
So you can see it onlyhuman.world and look for Liming with Gran. So onlyhuman.world.
Liming with Gran. Yeah. Thank you very much, both of you. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
My pleasure. Thank you.